Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another analysis of the Steelers crushing, potentially season-ending 31-28 loss to the New Orleans Saints. Steelers go to 8-6-1 on the year. And off the top, obviously, I think one of the biggest discussion points that's going to be had about this game in particular is the officiating. And let's get it out of the way just so we don't have to talk about it again, because I'm not too interested in the subject right now. But yes, the officiating was poor. There were some huge missed calls, some questionable ones elsewhere. Obviously, the Joe Haden pass interference on 4th and 1 early in the game set up the first score of the game for the Saints was a horrendous call, one of the worst of the season. And if you want to say that there's an officiating problem in the NFL, you won't get any argument out of me. I'm sure you won't get an argument out of any fan because every team's been pretty much screwed by officials at some point or another during the season. But to me, that's low-hanging fruit. I mean, yes, you can acknowledge poor calls, and I did the same on Twitter, and you can be frustrated by them, and I'm right there with you. End of the day, Steelers had their chances to win, and that's what it comes down to, is that you were up 28-24 on a 3rd and 20, and you give that up. It's a 28-24 game, 10 minutes left, you fumble the football away. Even after allowing the touchdown to make it 31-28, you're driving, you're on the edge of field goal range, and you fumble it away. That's on Pittsburgh. That's not officiating. And so, yes, I understand that the game was made tougher because of the bad calls and questionable calls and all that. But if you're Pittsburgh, you can control only what you can control. And they've won so many games in the past despite their own mistakes or officiating and stuff like that. So this isn't new for them. And these are the games that they should win. And at the end of the day, despite all those obstacles to overcome, they were in position to win. And they continue to find ways to beat themselves, allowing the easiest completion you'll ever see on 3rd and 20 over the middle, allowing the touchdown, the Ridley fumble, the Juju fumble. That's all within your control, all plays that either should have been made or should have been avoided. And that's why this loss is on Pittsburgh and why the Steelers, situation in the season being 8-6-1 is on them. For the losses before, losses to Oakland and Denver and the comeback that LA had, it's all pointing the finger back at Pittsburgh. And so that's what it comes down to. And it's just unbelievable that your quarterback can go 33 of 50 for 383 touchdowns, no picks. Your star receiver in AB has 2 touchdowns despite being bracketed all the time. And you still lose that game. And so that's just, it's a killer. That's a game you had to have. Everybody knew the stakes, especially with the lack of help the Steelers got before, and the Colts coming back to beat the Giants. It was a big one in that. The Ravens last night beating the Chargers at their place. You knew what was going to have to happen. So if you're unclear about the playoff situation, for the Steelers to get in the playoffs, there's a potential tie situation between the Titans and Colts, but let's remove that because it's a 0.1% chance of happening. Here's how the Steelers get in. They beat the Bengals on Sunday at 1 o'clock. That's a must. And the other must is the Browns beat the Ravens at 4:25. That game just got flexed from, I think, 1 to 4:25. So the Steelers will play first. If they win, they will still have to wait, and they will get to watch what their playoff fate is. If the Ravens lose, Steelers win. Steelers win the North. Probably become the 4th seed. I guess it depends. I don't have everything up in front of me, but I'm like 99% sure they'll be the 4th seed. And I believe end up playing the Chargers in the first round in the wild card weekend. So obviously cart before the horse talking about that stuff, but that's a scenario. Beat the Bengals, Browns beat the Ravens. So you're relying on the Cleveland Browns for your playoff hopes. Words I never thought I'd say. To the Browns' credit, they've played a lot better. They're a different team now, but just still, it's a sentence never said before. And so for some Steeler fans, maybe it's not since the 70s since you've uttered those words. So that's a situation. And again, I just have everything pointing back at the Steelers for their own mistakes. As much as this offense has moved the football well and effectively, it hasn't always been the most efficient. The turnovers are killer. It's happened in basically all these losses and all these close games where they've kept teams around by turning the football over. And you get the Ridley fumble, which was so eerily similar to what happened to Fitz Toussaint in the 2015 divisional game in that loss to Denver. 10 minutes left, leading in literally at the same line of scrimmage on the opponent's 34-yard line, and you fumble it away. That stuff's just killer. And so I thought Randy Fiedner had a good play call overall. I did not like that particular play call, though, that run on 3rd and 2. Give the ball to your playmakers, the guys that have made the big plays. Ben, AB, Juju, you guys know the drill there. That's who I would have relied on. Did not like the fake punt, and I know, and I'm sure many will have already brought up this point, that if it works, it's a brilliant call, and that whole story. But for me, 4th and 5, just too far to try to get there. With Rosie Nix, who did give a great effort, but just too far to try to get 5 yards on a fake. I think fakes work because there's an element of surprise, and that kind of buys you 2 to 3 yards. That element of surprise, not 5. And I think in that situation, you can punt it, let your defense make a play. They made big plays against the Saints or against the Patriots the week before. That's what you would rely on. Maybe just a penalty backs them up, or you get a sack, or just an error by the offense puts themselves in the a favorable situation for the defense. Because even if you don't get it, you knew the Saints were going to bleed clock. There wasn't a whole lot of time left, and so ultimately you get the football back with a minute 25 left and no timeouts, which was still doable, but it's not like a situation where you felt the Saints were going to score quickly potentially. They were still going to take their time, force the Steelers to use their timeouts. So just did not like the call, even when I saw it happening, because I saw somebody motion out wide, and I thought, what's going on here? No way they could be running a fake, and then you run the fake, and when it's happening, I'm sitting there going, no, what are you doing? And it almost worked. I mean, Nix almost got there. Again, great effort by him, but no, it's just this was a bad call, and I know it's impossible to say. Again, if it works, people are going to love it. But I sincerely thought, even if it did work, I think I would have been against the call, because I was against it from the beginning. So those two plays definitely stick out in terms of individual play calls and decisions. But I don't have a whole lot to add here. You guys know the whole situation. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. A team that has so much talent on offense, a team that's made some plays defensively, to be in this situation, to be outside looking in, to be needing some serious help. You shouldn't be in this position. And so we'll see what happens next Sunday. Before talking anything concretely about changes, I guess I'll just wait for the rest of the season to play out, because who knows exactly what will happen here. But obviously there's got to be some big changes at every level: coaching, personnel, evaluation, and just some of the process that has to get addressed. But I guess I'll save that for if the season does end after next Sunday, which I think there's an 80% chance that it will. We'll have plenty of time to talk about that. So I'll save kind of those thoughts there and just see, as Ben said, kind of how the story unfolds and go from there. But credit to the Saints. It's a really good team, tough place to play. They made some big plays. They got a lot of talent. You couldn't contain Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara the way that you did Edelman and Gronkowski last week. I thought Keith Butler's game plan of coming out blitzing was a terrible idea. We're not going to blitz Breeze. He's got the quickest release in football. Gets the ball out so quick. There's weapons. Trying to blitz him is just insanity. And the pressure took a while to get there. It did eventually get there with Hayward and Tuitt and Watt. But it wasn't enough early, and it left some open receivers and some less than favorable matchups. So it's just frustrating. I mean, we can explain this thing, 20 ways about it, but it's not going to matter. The Steelers failed to close out games. They failed to close out the second half of the year, which they've been so good at for the last 5 seasons now of playing well down the stretch. And that's ultimately been, the deciding factor and what's really cost them. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Whether you're watching on YouTube, Steelers Depot, follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. This is a tough one. And this team, should be in the playoffs, and it's a shame that they're going to need a lot of help, and it's not looking like that's going to be the case. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.